Hello, men. Hello, Mgtows. Let's get a sound check. That sounds great. It's so peaceful here. Hello, men. There we go. Hello, men. Hello, Mgtows. Welcome back. Greetings from the north coast of Ohio. Thanks a lot for showing up, if anybody does show up. Today we're going to talk a little bit about individualism. We're going to talk about leaving the farm. We're going to talk about courage in men. It takes courage to do a lot of things. Leaving the farm takes courage. Becoming a Mgtow takes courage. It often doesn't suit other people. It rubs against what they're doing. It rubs against their paradigm. It rubs against everything about them. Hello, Nick. Yes, that's my introduction. People we meet, people we know, people we become affixed to in life, and especially in that traditional places that we were raised in, they'll become distant memories at a certain point. But we don't have to ever feel guilty about moving on, removing toxic people from our lives. We have to do it around here on the internet. We have to do it in your lives. And sometimes you just need a move. There's a lot of toxic people out there. Nobody has the right to affect you with negativity or doubt. You're now Mgtow. The only person that's really going to be there for you is the people on these pages and the Mgtow friends that you will meet in life. The longer you're in Mgtow, you'll be able to identify these Mgtow friends in real life. I have a few of them. I go out with them a lot. We have fun, equal amounts of fun, if not more, than in our old traditional lives. But there will be a need for a social structure in this. There comes a point where you get tired of having to prove yourself, especially around here. It gets boring trying to fix things. Everything needs to be fixed. That's the old life. At one point, I told people I was answering the phone with, "What can I do for you?" Or how, what do you need? And that became old, and it became frustrating. It became trying on me. Old antiquated ideas of marriage alone, with the toxic individuals that are formed around them, things and the old beliefs and old ways of religion and work and social structures are mostly traditional. Individualism in itself is born from traditionalism. We see a lot of men around here promoting toxic sort of individualism, mainly individualistic. Men think differently now. We're allowed to form friendships between each other without that are not based on these traditional mating practices or tournamenting. And this Burgess individualism and traditionalism served people of the past. It doesn't serve us, especially in a new burgeoning group called Mgtow. There's a lot of things we need to do, and there's a lot of things we need to do successfully in this thing. And we become a group, and we have our support structures around us. Support structures are great. Things we can fall back, men we can fall back on, and really, really trust them. We see a lot of traditionalites come into Mgtow, and the first thing they're pushing is Burgess individualism, the old ways, the John Wayne ways, the Clint Eastwood ways. Them ways are far, far antiquated, and they don't work in today's society. The old individualism must be replaced, as discussed by a lot of philosophers. Dewey was one. It's one of the hard ones I watch and look at, and I read Dewey a lot. I read Winninger, I read Hobbes, and they often talk about this old antiquated individualism that's in people. It's hard to get rid of. It's like a toxic, festering beehive on top of a pile of crap in our society. Americans in general cling to these antiquated and religious ideas and principles of concepts. They have this old-fashioned morality and beliefs. One of the things is monogamy and all that, and they have old-fashioned beliefs that you have to take a female. You have to do this. You have to do these things in your life, and you don't really need them, and they drag you down rather than believing in what he felt, or in these more times of modernity. Men often disregard the scientific proof that we give. These old antiquated ideas have to be eliminated here in Mgtow. Most of the Burgess individualism you will see are based in tournamenting actions, where men get used to tournamenting with other men, and they're not used to working inside of a group. And inside of that group is a scary place to live. I remember going through group dynamics with a very lovely person in my life that was in that life, uh, and in doing these things that I wasn't relied on as the sole giver to the group, and you relied on sort of a situation where everybody in the group had equal authority, and rotary authority, and it works better. We see this in Knights of the Round Table and stuff like that. These old antiquated ideas of tournamenting, and men fighting with each other, men competing with each other and not working together in that individualistic sense, have to be defeated by Mgtow. And that's one of the things, and one of the ideas that we've let go way too long in Mgtow without discussing it, without looking at it. Every time you see one of these people say that Mgtow is not a group, Mgtow is not this, Mgtow is not that, we can't do that, they say, or else we become like the rest. Them are old, antiquated ideas based on traditionalism. Traditionalism, the past. One of the main difficulties to understanding the present and apprehending its possibilities is the persistence of stereotyping. One of the main difficulties is the persistence of stereotyping. And that's what they do to us Mgtow monks, they say. They persistently stereotype us in a spiritual life, which they do, which they can't understand. This has nothing to do with a spiritual life. It has everything to do with a man's life. That's the thing they can't understand. So they equate it. They equate an antiquated, old-fashioned, stereotypical 50s view of malehood, of masculinity, with this spiritual life which is formed out of old alien cultures. Nowhere in today's world at any time has religion been so thoroughly disrespected, in some cases respected in civil religions, in religions we see in marriage, religions we see in the government. The government has simply become these old antiquated religions of and these ritual practices of marriage. You look at the divorce courts, you look at how these things get projected through Senate bills and stuff like that, and they're always based on some antiquated idea of the past. Traditionalism, individualism, where men tournament with each other, that standards, and I know this will irritate a lot of people, but they're not thinking about that right. It's simply traditionalism personified in the individual. We have subjects of morals and standards and that stuff that can be replaced, and definitely aren't in need of old antiquated ideas, and they must be changed. We often talk about philosophy as a way to increase our moral capabilities and understanding of the world. I look at Marcus and I look at a lot of the people. I look at some people that totally don't understand it. I look at the Ayn Rand followers that don't understand that it's a political ideology she's pushing rather than a philosophy. It's a socialized she's just a socialized pundit for the media, and they go with that, and they continue with those old ways, those ideologies that will saturate their values and their inner values and their self with this individualism that's just derived from pre-scientific and pre-technical ages. Go back to the 50s, they're saying. Become that stoic individual so you can be picked off one by one. There's a different way of thinking about these things, and I think the Mgtow monks have transcended through it, but we sometimes failure to articulate these things in our speeches and our monologues. This is one of those speeches and monologues where I thoroughly want to articulate that these old antiquated ideas of individualism and stoicism and that John Wayne sort of attitude is traditionalism, and it's creeping into Mgtow in the most dramatic way. According to Dewey, we are, for better or worse, living in a corporate age, and we must get out of we must get into the new age of new individualism. And they're talking about a new individualism where your personal beliefs and your foundations are based on the things that are truly you. And that's what we talk about in Mgtow, these things that are truly you. You delve deep down into your soul and you dig these things up that you do. Most people free themselves from these old traditions and they move on to the new ones. And in that way, it becomes sort of a toxic mix of this old individual with the new way of doing things. Sometimes changing something is difficult with people. Especially Mgtow, we look at programmers and sometimes they say, no, just don't try to fix it because it's better left like that. They'll try to fix it and it gets a mumble jumble and they overfix things. That's what we see in today's society, which those old religious things, those antiquated ideas are out of touch. What we want here in Mgtow is for men to start acting as individuals, unique in their properties, ways, and forms, in their speech patterns, in their and whatever makes you individual and unique to this planet, but not carry over that traditionalism of being too individualistic, where you walk out into the woods and you have nowhere to go. There's no electricity out there. There's no running water. Unless you're one of these people that are really stupid and walk off into the mountains and lose their self forever and show up 10 years later going, oh, I just got lost. That's what you will become. There's a new age of imagination and emotion for men and individual minds that you can attach yourself to here in Mgtow. The problem seems to be essential to creation of this new individualism, the new ways of thinking. That old traditional individualism does not work anymore. That stoic individualism. You can be unique in the sense of yourself and still work with other men without tournamenting with them, without fighting. That's a better world, my friend. Individualistic people often have consequences, often experiences consequences of never finding themselves. They never possess the objective imagination to move into things that they need to move into. Uh-oh. I lost my front screen again. Sorry about that. There's a new way of thinking about these things, and we have to embrace them. We embrace the Mgtow. These things are difficult to understand, and they're very difficult for these traditionalists that come around here, the PUAs. That's the old way. They find themselves in consequences, in jackpots. They find themselves doing the wrong things. The new Mgtow way is being an individual person in your qualities and your characters and the things that make you up, that has nothing to do with being so individualistic that you walk off and never to be seen again. We group together for reasons. Some people call it collectivism. Some people call it a lot of things. There's nothing to do with Mgtow. It's off the field. Men working together and thriving together with happiness in their heart, and a new feeling of joy and imagination will come over these people, from sociologists to psychologists to novelists, dramaticists, and poets. We can all experience this new Mgtow that will come around. And I think every single person eventually will see this. But that old traditionalism trap keeps popping its head up, where you have to become this stoic individual. Just go along with the old traditional ways. And that'll be better for you, they'll say, but it's not better for you. It's a bridge to nowhere. Men need to work together, become a group, become what Dewey was talking about, that Winninger was talking about, Hobbes was talking about, even Michael Foucault was talking about it, and people missed it because they can't get out of the leaving those old antiquated ways behind, the old individualism that causes so much problems in this society, mostly bathe themselves in religialism and founded ideas and standards and morals that are destroying them. I know there's slight differences in this. I know it has to be explained to most people. When these people come around with those attitudes of culture and the old ways and stoicism and that manliness that's portrayed in the 1950s Leave It to Beaver and John Wayne, they're asking you to go back to the old traditional ways where every man was this mountain. And it was just not right. There was something there's lies intended in there. There's malice intended in there. In this new age of new enlightenment, no, that's the red pill we talk about. What we're trying to dispense with in here is that tournamenting, fighting like birds, fighting like dogs, fighting with our brothers. We need to bond together. If anything is ever going to get changed in this society, we will not do it with that old individualism. It's not the Wild West out there anymore. And anybody that lives in that place is delusional as that old antiquated ideas of marriage and toxic individualism. We all live in constructs now. We all live in places that you have to have electricity. You have to have plumbing. You have to have a sewage pipe. These people that are talking about collectivism and all that stuff, they're delusional as those old antiquated ideas. Imagine what it would take to walk off into the woods or some area that was not not farmed already, or not, and you're going to say that you're going to do this all by yourself. You have no electric, you have no water, you have nothing, Even in trailer parks and mobile trailers, they stop and electric is needed, gas is needed. These things that society provides us with. And the sooner we get into this thing, the sooner we will bond Mgtow to this new way. And we will become richer and better suited. We don't have to think about these things in old traditional ways. You're not sitting on some farm with your wife and children in there and you're fending off against predators and evil gunslingers anymore. That is delusional to think like that. There are rarely any snakes to kill or coyotes to herd off or wolves to fight with. There are no bears out there that you will be wrestling with. The only bear, the only evil out there is this antiquated traditionalism that say that men still must tournament with each other, must still fight for the love of a woman. That's garbage thinking, and that's where them men will take you down. The new Mgtow is very new and it's very red pill. And unless we shed ourselves from that old, we will still stay bound to that place with that old, constantly arguing with these idiots around here. No, let's move on, man. Form friendships. Quit tournamenting. That's what we talked about from the original Mgtow, from the classic Mgtow, and we still haven't busted through that. We have men that just don't understand it and don't understand why they put their self-interest above the group. These Burgess individuals like Sandman and 101 and those people, they could give a shit about you. They're not here to fix things. They're not here to help. We get these helping hand people often reaching out for your money. They're here to help themselves in that old traditionalism, because that's always the sales pitch, them old-fashioned 50s men in those sales departments pitched at you. And they were delusional, and they're more delusional now, but they're more harmful now to young men and boys that need to secure an honest living before they start thinking about anything. These are old traps. Of course, in some cases, these men that are weak and thirsty, if they take on that Burgess individualism, yes, they will start looking for a mate. They will be picked off by the farm and put back into the farm. They will be not useful for anything except useful for the farmer, the slave owner, the government. And yes, they want to keep them away from us. Because we destroy the old paradigms. And that's my monologue for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know how long I'm going to go about this subject. Thanks for the bucks, Johnny. I'm going to say hello to everybody now. I don't know how many people are actually watching. Johnny Midnight, Nick What? Hello, Staying Free Mgtow. Hello, Hetty Luca. Hello, Ogbur Hagbar of Iron. Hello, gents. Hello, men. Hello, Greg Silverado. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mgtow Warrior. Hello, Greg. Everybody that shows up. I think this is a very important subject because a lot of men don't know the difference between being an individual and being too individualistic. Jung knew the difference, and he tried to explain that to Freud. Freud wasn't getting it. Yeah, they had certain clients, the rat boy and things like that, that were stuck in these old ideas and everything. And Jung was trying to explain to who people, somebody that a lot of people in the 50s and those traditionals, we hear Freud's name come up by these traditional lights because everything with Freud had to do with sex. Everything in Freud had to do with their mothers. Uh, Jung was trying to explain to him one of the one of the differences in life between individualism and being too individualistic. And I think he did a very good job in that. And you can read Jung and you can read that stuff, and it comes off very nicely for a Mgtow. Uh, a lot of time, even this morning, I seen someone. They weren't very well rounded in their philosophy, and they did a MGTOW video about individualism and collectivism, but they're not very well rounded. And the complaints that I heard about my comment, which echo the comment of what I just made, was they were getting rationalism and relativism mistaked with subjectivity, and relativism is not subjective. Relativism is based on the new sciences, the new ages. When Einstein said everything is relative, he wasn't talking about sociology. He was talking about time and space. And of course, time and space is relative because we don't know too much about time and space. So it will become continuously relative in that field of talk. I hear a lot of idiots go, well, everything's relative, like they're talking about subjectivity, moral subjectivity. And they're talking about moral relativism. And they don't know the difference between the two. We get a lot of these idiots around here that are half-wit baby philosophers. The best way to go, the best place to go as often is to Marcus if you want to ask him a question. He doesn't have a lot of time now, but you can go over his old videos and learn about philosophy, learn about the ways of thinking. I often do philosophy in here because some people are better suited for philosophy. It's a program of astringent logic. It doesn't base itself on those old traditional romantic ideas. This toxic individualism we can see in the alt-right coming on. And these people aren't very well rounded in reading. Most of the stuff they talk about is tildeer. That was too long to read for them. So they had no idea what they were talking about. I seen a young man talking about SP 179, the pronoun bill today. And it's not a pronoun bill. They were calling it a pronoun, gender pronouns, because that's the pejorative term to them. But all it was a group of individuals out there that are redesignated non-binary that want that to say that on their license. So mistakes aren't made. I give tolerance and leadway to these people because it's just right that they get to put on their license or their birth certificate what they are. It doesn't hurt me in no manner whatsoever. If they want to do that, it's like that girl that says she was black and she was white. It doesn't hurt me whatsoever if she thinks that way. It doesn't affect me. But so many of the alt-righters and so many of the new toxic people we see around here had problems with that because they weren't doing any secondary thinking, any basic philosophy of logic. How can that possibly affect you? We see people going off about these things and they stop talking about Mgtow and men and how these things, these tournamenting negatively affects us, how the peacocking and the white knighting and the simping negatively affect you and I. Because they have no interest in men's work. They have no interest in men. They still validate themselves through the female in the old ways. That's how they get their validation. Like I said, we get our kicks above the waistline. So hello, men. Hello, Hetty. It's always good to see Hetty around. Uh, hello, Derek. It's always good to see Derek around. Nick, and all the men that come around. So, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Go over your thoughts and your thought patterns a little bit and think about being individual, but not so individualistic that you're competing with every man around you and making your life more difficult. You can have good friends. You can have good friends around here. You can have good friends out there. But if you're that toxic individual that is going to stomp on other men and throw them underneath the bus, that's not going to work in this society. There is slight truth to everything we hear. There is slight truth to the social things that are being said now. We have to pick out the realities in these things from the lies. And that's up to us individually as MGTOWs. Old antiquated ideas, we must throw those out because they lead to the same thing we have: barbaric mating ritual practices, prison, debtor's prison for men that don't deserve it, good men. I see the old antiquated idea of taking a man that's not paying his child support's license away. It does no good. It's just simple punishment for an antiquated idea of breeding and ritual mating. These ideas must be eliminated, and it starts with the marriage. It starts with the ritual practices. It starts with how you individual men, think about it. And like I said, being unique and extraordinary is good because you will thoroughly strive in this environment that we have to live in now. The ability to recognize these things will be great. Those other traditional men that are hard to get along with, that are mating, that are doing all those things that rub against everybody around them, and then they scream out at the end when they fail that there's no help for men. But there was, and it's here in MGTOW. We have to develop a society of us so we become the help. We become the social programs. We include ourselves in these things. I brought up the gender pronouns because we can see how that runs astray. But there's one other gender pronoun that we want to see changed within the laws, the Equal Rights Amendment, and that they exclude, and it's one pronoun: men. Yes, the word men and man is a pronoun too. And as long as you let them secretly, under the disguise of some alt-right garbage, destroy that for you, we will never move on. Those old antiquated ideas, they get in the way. There's no such thing anymore as John Wayne or Clint Eastwood, Cary Grant, or what was that kind of gay guy that was a pirate back then? I don't even know what his name was. Them are old ideas. Today's men need to stick together. We need to have a group that we can go to because they've taken all our other groups. And it's easy to separate and divide, to pick one off at a time. That makes it so easy for them. No, no, not me. I am MGTOW. I understand these things. I'm not a peacock or a turkey fighting in the brush with another peacock and another turkey for mating right rituals. Evolve. That's what I'm saying. Evolve, man. Mgtow is an evolutionary process. Leave these men in the dirt. Be and become a recognizable force. Otherwise, this thing is never going to end. And it's always going to be a horror for men that fall into that trap. I've gone on about 35 minutes here. And that's all I really wanted to talk about today is the difference, the philosophy, how some things don't line up. What some of these men are asking from you out there doesn't make no sense. They're lost. They're individualistic people that could give a shit about the group. They want you to go down that road because what's really, really, really scares them is if we do become a group. And we start working together and we remove these toxic people from our lives. They affect you with negativity and doubt. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for being Mgtow. Mgtow. You guys have a great day. Thank you.